Single mom's life changed forever when CEO surprised her at a wedding with an incredible proposal. Sarah was serving tables with her usual grace when her world exploded. The extravagant wedding was a dazzling affair, crystal chandeliers glinting overhead while laughter buzzed like electricity. But the warmth of the crowd faded when Jason, the dashing CEO from the city, turned his eyes on her. He stood as a constellation of confidence against the backdrop of Maple Grove, and she felt a surge of something unexpected. Their eyes locked, she could sense the weight of his gaze, as if he understood the struggles beyond her apron. As Sarah took in the moment, thoughts raced in her mind. What am I doing here, dressed in my old uniform, while he walks amongst the elite? This wasn't her world, yet the spark lighting up his face made her feel inexplicably alive. Her daughter, Lily, with her wild imagination, often romanticized life and stargazed about such magnetic encounters. Could this be a story worth sharing? But the thought of hope hung in the balance with her reality of waitressing at the diner. Before long, the wedding was buzzing with toasts, congratulations, and glances exchanged between guests as Jason stepped toward her. Compulsively, her fingers smudged with the remnants of antiquated paint from her attic canvases brushed against her apron, a heavy reminder of an abandoned dream. Would he see beyond the dirt and chaos? Would he understand that each day was a juggling act balancing work, parenting, and the shadow of an artist still dreaming? Before she had the chance to fully comprehend her feelings, the air shifted. The room fell silent as he took a deep breath, captivating the audience with words that sent a chill down her spine. "Sarah," he proclaimed, "you are more than a waitress, you are a muse." The crowd's collective inhale became palpable, and she froze, heart racing. And then he knelt, opening a velvet box that seemed impossibly grand against the wear and tear of her life, and in that hushed moment, he proposed. And the world erupted with gasps and cheers. But the confetti of elation sent her mind spiraling into chaos. Surrounded by an audience eager for romance, she felt her independence teetering on the edge. Was this love or an escape from her profound solitude? Jason's eyes of hope ignited an inner conflict that churned her stomach. Had she really just been offered a life that could change everything? Or was this a facade, mirroring the very fairy tales she always dismissed? Friends and family gossiped about how his status could elevate her life, tainting the purity of what she was trying to assess. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as Sarah looked back at Jason in that sparkle-lit room, the thrill of the unexpected proposal felt like an avalanche, threatening to bury her more than elevate. Could she accept a life where her every breath might be intertwined with another's expectations? Or would saying yes mean she would forever be labeled as the waitress who got lucky? The weight of motherhood, dreams, and the independence she cherished loomed over her like a storm as she gazed into the sea of faces, each whispering hope and doubt. This moment was a cliff, and Sarah was hanging in the balance, caught between possibility and fear, the night electrified with the choices that lay ahead. As the uproar of excitement enveloped the room, Sarah felt herself spiraling further within the confines of her own mind. Faces morphed into a kaleidoscope of unrecognizable expectations, and even the sparkles from the chandeliers became blinding. Jason's words echoed through her consciousness: muse, propose, elevate. The juxtaposition of their worlds weighed heavily on her heart. To the onlookers, this was the beginning of a fairy tale. To her, it felt more like a masquerade ball where all masks would be peeled away to reveal an unforgiving light. Doubt gnawed at her just beneath the surface, and she clutched her apron like a lifeline. She couldn't shake the feeling that to accept his offer would mean surrendering a piece of herself, the dedicated mother who scrubbed tables and painted canvases with fierce devotion. It was as if a tsunami was rolling in, ready to sweep away everything she had fought for. Could she afford to return to an ordinary life bound by an extraordinary choice? Or was possibility wrapped up in that very moment, an opportunity to step beyond the mundane? Her head looked left, considering her own interests, the painting that waited for her every night when she returned home, the heavy brushes poised for a revival, and her heart swayed right, toward Jason's promise of partnership, the security it invoked stirring up a warmth she hadn't felt in years. But was it genuine warmth or just the allure of an escape? Suddenly, as if sensing her turmoil, Jason stood up, hopeful yet vulnerable, his gaze unwavering. "I know this is sudden," he began, his voice steady. "But I see so much potential in you, and I want to explore this journey together. I want to be there for Lily too." The mention of her daughter's name struck a chord deep within her. Lily was her world, the center from which every decision flowed. Would this choice be beneficial for Lily, or would it upend the delicate balance they had? Memories flooded back, late-night stories shared over coloring books, the soft patter of little feet skipping through their modest home, the laughter they had crafted from nothing. This was her reality, not the silk and satin surrounding Jason. But what if there was a chance for more than just a glimmer of happiness, but for growth? What if his ambition could inspire her hidden talents to resurface? Could she learn to navigate a world beyond her familiar territory, wherein her artistic soul could flourish as well? As she weighed these thoughts against Jason's intent expression, something within her flickered. Perhaps this moment wasn't just about the grandeur around them, but rather an extraordinary opportunity, a chance to weave her own story into a new narrative. With a deep breath, she broke through the barrier of uncertainty. "Can we take a moment?" It was a request that surprised even her own ears, but it held with it a thread of determination. She wasn't ready to leap into the abyss just yet. They stepped aside, out of the spotlight, into a quieter hallway. But now the gravity of her surroundings shifted. The hum of muffled conversations faded into the background while adrenaline coursed through her veins. Here, she could sift through her conflicting emotions unencumbered. "What should I do?" she whispered to herself, sensing a resolve dawning within her, but the answer was not yet clear. Jason's eyes reflected not only curiosity but also an uncharacteristic vulnerability. "I'll wait." "But don't wait too long," he allowed, yet she could see he was holding on to an urgency ignited by her presence. In that breath-catching moment, Sarah realized that she was standing not merely at the edge of a proposal, but at the pivotal crossroads of defining her future. Choices made now could ripple through the fabric of her life and her daughter's as well. And as she stared into Jason's earnest eyes, contemplating the storm of possibilities growing around her, a flicker of clarity began to emerge. She understood this was not just a potential romance, it was a catalyst for her own change, a chance to discover who she could become. Suddenly, the weight of decision hung not just on accepting or rejecting, but on understanding her true aspirations. Fear intertwined with excitement as she began plotting the steps ahead. Yet deep down, amidst realizations sprouting like wildflowers, she sensed a truth waiting to be confronted. The reckoning of her own fears still loomed. She had to embrace not just the allure of partnership but the daunting challenge of self-exploration. As they sauntered back toward the festivities, Sarah's heart raced. Every second felt like a countdown, marking the beginning of something far greater than she could grasp. But just as clarity began to settle, another thought pierced the surface: if she chose to step forward, there would be no turning back. This was the edge she hadn't expected, embracing possibility against the shadows of her fears. And so, as she moved back into the light, one question echoed unrelentingly in her mind: was she ready to face the consequences of whatever choice she made next? As Sarah re-entered the lively atmosphere, it felt like stepping into a different universe. The vibrant laughter, the melodic chatter, and the swirling colors danced around her, yet she remained acutely aware of her internal disarray. Every sound seemed amplified, each cheer reinforcing the paradox of her situation, the blending of the extraordinary with her ordinary existence. Jason moved close, instinctively trying to bridge the gap created during their private moment. His presence stirred a conflicted cocktail of emotions within her: admiration, trepidation, and that ever-present undercurrent of doubt. She could feel the pull between her current life devoted to Lily and the simplicity of her routine and the complexity of what accepting Jason's offer could mean for both of them. "Are you all right?" Jason asked, concern etched in his features. His attention was sincere, drawing her deeper into the chaos of contemplation. "Just processing," she replied, attempting to erect a shield against her swirling thoughts. His question was thoughtful, yet it only intensified the nagging sense of urgency to make a decision. This crossroads was not merely a matter of accepting a partnership. It was a test of her identity. What version of herself was she willing to embrace? The artist who lost her passion to routine, or the ambitious woman her daughter could one day look up to? As the evening progressed, her mind raced through the implications of her choice. She wandered, gazing at the beautifully arranged tables laden with extravagant dishes, the laughter and stories spilling forth from every corner. Each moment spent feeling like a delicate thread woven into a larger tapestry that she didn't yet fully understand. A dance floor beckoned, people swirling gracefully to the music in an embrace of freedom. Her heart longed to join them, to let loose, yet her feet felt rooted to the ground with hesitation. The backdrop of celebration contrasted so sharply with the weight on her shoulders. In that moment, it all felt fleeting: the glamour upstairs, the mundanity of life. "Do you paint?" Jason's question jolted her from her reverie, breaking through the fog of self-doubt that had gathered. This was an unexpected turn in their conversation. "It used to be a big part of my life," she replied, her voice tinged with nostalgia. "But it feels like a remote memory now. Life sort of took over." His gaze lingered on her, pierced with intrigue, as if he were peering into a part of her she had yet to share with anyone. "I think it's still there, waiting for you, like a canvas waiting for paint. I see so much potential in you, Sarah." His confidence in her capability struck a chord, resonating within her like echoes of an abandoned passion. Perhaps he believed in her potential more than she did. Yet, that truth was daunting: a reflection of the disconnect between who she was and who she desired to be. "Do you really see that? In all of this?" she asked, the weight of her vulnerability hanging in the air. "Absolutely," he affirmed firmly, and the intensity in his voice sent shivers through her spine. An idea began to crystallize in her mind. Could she unlock the parts of herself hidden under layers of self-doubt? The enormity of the question was both frightening and thrilling. If she chose to pursue this chance with Jason, would it catapult her into a rediscovery of herself? With resolve, she stepped back to take in the vibrant scene again. Though a passenger, she yearned for direct involvement. Her hand unwittingly brushed a paintbrush charm hanging from her necklace, a talisman reminding her of vibrant colors that were still part of her world. "Maybe it's time to paint again," she whispered, more to herself than to him. The idea floated softly within her, daring her to consider the unimaginable: a life where she could thrive creatively, both for herself and, ultimately, for Lily. But it came with drawbacks. Could she devote herself fully to both Jason's world and her artistry? That was a dilemma she had yet to confront. What if embracing one meant neglecting the other? Would pursuing newfound ambition ripple negatively through their relationship, or could it enhance her role as a mother? "Are you sure you want to dive into this?" Jason interjected, sensing her contemplative mood shift, drawing her focus back to him. "I don't want you to feel pressured, Sarah. This journey is about you, and I want it to reflect everything you desire." Just then, an unexpected wave of emotion broke over her. The clarity they just touched upon danced just out of reach. There was still so much to unpack, so much fear to confront. I need time," she finally said, the truth feeling both liberating and confining. Jason nodded thoughtfully, the tension between them met with understanding. "Take the time you need. But remember, the longer you wait, the more questions you may leave unanswered." As she processed his words, a new urgency emerged. She could no longer simply float through life. She must ignite a passion that demanded to be felt. A decision was looming closer, the air charged with unrealized potential. The night unfolded around them, but Sarah found herself in a whirlwind of realization and uncertainty. This path would define not just her future, but the legacy she would leave for Lily. With that knowledge settling somewhere deep, she felt the synergy of resolve and fear amalgamating within her. As she stood there, the narrative of her life poised for revision, one truth anchored itself: this was just the beginning. But could she find the courage to embrace the risks without erasing her past? As she wrestled with the shadows of self-discovery, a latent voice echoed within: the true adventure lay in the accepting and confronting of herself. As the music swelled, she could feel the pulse of her own heart racing. What would happen if she were to truly reclaim her artistry? Was it time to awaken the artist within while also navigating the complexities of Jason's world? And as the clock ticked forward, with decisions on the horizon, she soon understood: some choices would mark a departure from her known reality, while others would shape the very essence of who she would become. In the quiet recesses of her mind, one question reverberated louder than the rest: what if stepping into the light not only transformed her life but also opened the door for a legacy she had yet to envision? As Sarah stood at the threshold of self-discovery, the vibrant chaos around her faded into a vague hum. The reality of the night pressed heavily on her chest, while the shimmering prospect of rekindling her lost passion brimmed on the edges of her consciousness. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, each note of music a reminder of the life she had yet to embrace. The questions distilled into a singular, potent query: who was she capable of becoming? A painter, a mother, a partner, or a combination of all these versions? Each role rattled her with its own complexities. The fear of stepping outside her comfort zone clashed mercilessly with a stir of boldness ignited by Jason's unwavering belief in her. Suddenly, the weight of her decision felt heavier than just a choice; it had the weight of her identity, her future, and her daughter's expectations all intertwined into one. Feeling the disparities within herself stretch like elastic, Sarah let the memories of her artistic pursuits wash over her. The smell of paint, the rush of creativity, the satisfaction of a brush stroke enveloping a blank canvas, it all surged forward like an unquenchable fire. But then, shadows crept in, reminders of her responsibilities, her routines, the nightly exhaustion that stole away her potential. "You can't just put the brush away forever," she muttered under her breath, a half-hearted attempt at rallying from within. The mere thought frightened her. What if the drive to paint could unravel the delicate threads holding her life together? What if devoting time to herself created a rift in the already fragile relationship she had with Lily? Bathed in the pulsating lights of the room, her vision wavered between the past she forewent and the future Jason envisioned for her, a future she was terrified to grasp. "Why must I choose?" she questioned aloud, glancing sideways at Jason, who appeared deep in conversation with another guest. He looked so engrossed, casually animated, while she felt like a spectator in her own life. Deep down, Sarah was tired of watching from the sidelines. The lost artist within her stirred violently, pleading for release. The pain of inadequacy gnawed at her like a relentless beast. What should have been a joyous moment became suffocating as uncertainty clawed at her certainty. Perhaps, the greatest fear wasn't about commitment to Jason's ambitious world or even her daughter, but rather the persistent feeling of inadequacy she had internalized through the years. After all, it had taken everything for Sarah to get to this point. She had sacrificed evenings of inspiration for the monotony of reality. To face an empty canvas was intimidating; it held the potential for failure. As a sudden burst of laughter erupted nearby, Sarah turned to see a group of friends engaged in animated conversation. The authenticity of their joy struck her, contrasting starkly with her internal disquietude. They seemed free, thriving in the moment without constraints. Could she experience that while still nurturing the dreams deferred? Taking a deep breath, she felt a shift inside her. What if embracing her artistry didn't have to negate her role as a mother? Instead of seeing one as a hindrance to the other, what if the two could weave together into a narrative of resilience and inspiration for Lily? Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, envisioning herself painting in the soft light of her studio a space abundant with colors and inspiration, where her daughter could witness the unfiltered joy of creativity. The vivid images ignited something deep within her, a whiplash of excitement intertwined with fear. But those thoughts came with responsibility. If she did manifest a path of creative freedom, she would have to face the criticisms both from within and outside of her sphere. What if she faltered? What would that mean for her daughter? Sarah? Jason's voice sliced through her musing, bringing her back. The warmth of his presence enveloped her. You look deep in thought. Coincidentally, I was just saying how a partnership is all about balance, connecting the dots between ambition and personal fulfillment. His words hit her like a bolt of lightning, illuminating everything she had been grappling with. Balance. She hadn't truly considered that in her turbulent thoughts. Maybe the answer met somewhere between his world and her artistic aspirations. The image of balance was no easy feat, but, with intention, it stirred a new resolve within her. I think I want to explore, she said decisively, surprising herself with the boldness of her statement. I want to find a way to paint again, but I need to figure out what that means at this stage in my life. It was a manifestation of clarity coupled with trepidation, an admission of her desire to reclaim parts of herself. Jason's smile radiated warmth, an affirmation that maybe he understood the tumult within her without needing her to expound on the specifics. Let us find a way forward together then, he offered, the sincerity in his eyes igniting a flicker of hope. As Sarah walked away from their conversation, the gravity of her words hung thick in the air. The appeal of the dance floor resurfaced, but now with a twist of purpose. She wouldn't just be an observer. Stealing her expression, she approached it with the intention of moving in concert with her journey. Navigating the space with newfound awareness, she felt momentum building. But as she swayed to the music, a specter of doubt gripped her. Was this freedom a slippery slope or a refreshingly safe stride into her new reality? With the night still stretching ahead and choices brewing in the shadows, Sarah felt the stirring of possibilities. The path before her flickered, a series of transformations waiting to unfold. She had already taken the first step. Soon, however, she would have to take a leap. What if stepping onto that dance floor propels me into a world that challenges everything I know? She reflected, as the undeniable rhythm of life urged her forward, pushing her toward questions yet unanswered. As the synthesized beats coated the air with vibrancy, Sarah felt the weight of anticipation lift. Each step onto the dance floor was a tentative embrace of her rediscovered fervor, mingled with a new energy flowing through her veins. She pushed against the fear, the nagging self-doubt that insisted she was treading on precarious ground. The warmth of the lights overhead illuminated her resolve. She wasn't merely dancing, she was weaving her identity into the rhythm, reconnecting with the artist that had lain dormant. In that moment, movement became a metaphor for transformation, a direct rebellion against years of stagnation. Jason had ignited something within her, and now it felt as though the air around her crackled with potential. Each sway and twirl felt like a declaration against her previous entrapment, an assertion that she could be more than just a caretaker or a background figure in someone else's narrative. Perhaps there was a way to juggle passions and responsibilities that didn't feel like a relentless balancing act but rather an interplay. But that glimmer of hope faltered. Her mind replayed the evening's earlier uncertainty. Balance was one thing, but what if her artistic ambitions unraveled her carefully crafted life? The fear of neglecting her daughter gnawed at her thoughts. Would Lily see her mother as selfish if she pursued her dreams? Sarah longed to impart the message of courage, of following one's heart, but she didn't want it to come at the cost of her child's stability. As the music shifted, a slower ballad enveloped the room. Sarah paused, pulling herself from the cacophony of voices and laughter swirling around her. Leaning against the bar, she took a sip of her drink, the cold liquid somehow grounding her amidst the storm in her mind. Shouldn't I be more worried? She whispered to herself, watching the couples swirl together in liquid synchronization. The simplicity of connection between them irritated her, it reminded her of another life. The life before she had settled into routines. Why am I even hesitating? She muttered. Art has always been my solace. Her art was like sacred text, each stroke of the brush had once articulated her thoughts and feelings in ways spoken words could never reach. Why now, when the urge was reignited, did apprehension threaten to drown her aspirations? Her gaze swept through the crowd, landing on a mother with a tiny babe in her arms. The sight filled her with warmth and trepidation. Could she sustain the two roles harmoniously? What if her artistic explorations became a distraction, drawing her away from Lily's formative years? The jazz rhythm shifted again, electrifying the space and drawing her back into the throng of movement. Suddenly, she spotted the glow of shared laughter and spontaneous joy that caught her attention. She approached a small group. Familiar faces were peripherally drawn to the music like moths to a flame. The undeniable sense of belonging wrapped around her, yet the shadows of her insecurities lingered at the edges. "What do you think, Sarah? Shouldn't we grab some paint and canvases tomorrow and have a little art jam session?" Her friend Chloe chirped, breaking her contemplative reverie. "Art jam?" Sarah echoed, surprised by the invitation, both tantalizing and frightening. What if this was her moment, a chance to test the waters? Could a mere afternoon bleed color into her world without dimming her maternal light? Chloe looked at her expectantly, her enthusiasm infectious. "Think about it. It could be exactly what you need. Doing something fun with friends will remind you of what it feels like to create without the pressure." Sarah's heart thundered in response. The challenge was calling to her. Create freely, without fearing judgment, become the artist she missed. "I'll think about it," she replied, sometimes ambivalent, but deep inside, a flicker of excitement began to outshine her old doubts. As the laughter echoed around her, blending with the music like swirling colors on a palette, Sarah felt something shift irrevocably. Each beat was a reminder of reclaimed intention, urging her to embrace herself, flaws and all. But what would it look like when she actually stepped into this new reality? The notion of meeting her friends in exploration kept spiraling in her mind. Could she forge a new narrative that allowed her to honor both sides of her life? With a bittersweet smile, Sarah realized she would have to confront the expectations of being a mother and an artist head-on. The path ahead was uncharted, yet peppered with potential. Yet even amidst the rush of excitement, a poignant question lingered: was she truly ready to explore this territory? Just as she resolved to reach out to Chloe in the morning, the DJ dropped an unexpected bassline that rippled through her, setting off an electrifying uncertainty. The moment of truth had arrived for her commitment to her new journey, and she realized her response held the power to shape not just her life but also the legacy she wished to instill within Lily. As the night unfolded, Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of her decisions looming large. In taking this leap, she would have to accept the risk of vulnerability, a leap that could redefine everything. Tomorrow, she thought, deciding her path lay not so quietly in the realm of art but intertwined with the duties of motherhood. "It's time to paint my truth." But as the music pulsed, she couldn't ignore the haunting thought: what if painting her truth meant displacing the carefully woven tapestry of her life? The next morning, sunlight filtered through the window, casting warm rays over Sarah's kitchen table. As she sipped her coffee, she replayed the night before in her mind. The laughter, the music, her friend Chloe's invitation, each segment ignited a flicker of creativity in her once muted spirit. Yet, lurking beneath the surface, anxiety curled tightly around her ambition, squeezing every ounce of excitement. "Today is the day," she murmured, convincing herself. She had decided to reach out. However, the notion of expressing her desire to paint felt like stepping into quicksand. What if she stuttered through her sentences, fumbling her words and revealing the volume of self-doubt that weighed down her heart? The balance she so desperately sought seemed precarious, dangling by a thread as she stared at an empty canvas in her mental space. After breakfast, Lily hurried to her playroom, and Sarah seized the moment. She grabbed her phone, fingers hovering over Chloe's contact number. A deep breath steadied her nerves. "Chloe." She finally typed, unleashing her intentions, bold yet vulnerable. "I'm in for the art jam today. I need this. It took all her willpower not to second-guess herself before clicking send. Done, she whispered, feeling a rush of liberation. But instantly, a wave of remorse followed. Was she already faltering in her role as a mother by prioritizing herself, especially with an invitation to create rather than being present for her daughter? Lily's laughter echoed in her ears, bathing her in guilt intermingled with excitement. The minutes dripped slowly, and Sarah struggled between self-flagellation and a newfound resolve. Could her ventures into art yield more than mere fulfillment for her? What if they strengthened her relationship with Lily, showing her daughter a tangible pursuit of dreams? Her thoughts collided with the reality of responsibility, challenging her to re-examine her identity. The clock blinked, each tick echoing louder as noon approached. Could she truly gain the confidence to unearth that part of herself? Shaking off her doubts, she dressed deliberately a pair of paint-splattered jeans and a worn, oversized sweater that felt like a comforting hug. The tangible connection to her art reassured her. She wasn't stepping into an alien universe but rather revisiting a familiar terrain. Arriving at Chloe's, the atmosphere was electric, buzzing with laughter and floating possibilities. Familiar scents of paint and fresh brushes filled the air, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. As Chloe welcomed her with a radiant smile, Sarah felt the first threads of her anxiety unravel. She wasn't just an artist, she was a participant in this celebration of expression. The canvases awaited, blank and inviting. Just let go, Chloe encouraged, splashing vibrant colors across her own canvas with fearless strokes. Sarah picked up a brush, hesitating at first, unsure how to start. Then, spurred by the rhythm of clinking glasses and invigorating chatter, she dipped the brush into blue and made her first bold stroke. An unexpected inflection swirled inside her. With each stroke, clarity ignited within. Thoughts she had buried began to emerge, capturing the sensations of being both a mother who craved creativity and an artist yearning for freedom. The colors cascaded down the canvas, bringing life to her unvoiced emotions, capturing the discord between motherhood and artistic expression. But as inspiration flowed, so did a restless curiosity about her own limitations. What would happen when this session ended? As she lost herself in paint and laughter, reality loomed large at the back of her mind like an uninvited guest. Would she return home, feeling fulfilled, only to confront that gnawing guilt once more? "Hey, Sarah." Chloe broke through her thoughts. "What do you think? You look like you're painting your truth." The moment of connection struck deep, there was urgency in her voice. Sarah turned to her friend and felt a twist of hesitation. What if it's not enough? She confessed, exposing the raw vulnerability she often concealed. What if I can't juggle both? The room felt still, absorbing her words. Chloe considered her for a moment, the weight of her friend's vulnerability prompting honesty. "You might have to redefine enough," she said gently, "but don't let fear rob you of creating." In that instant, a flicker of clarity unveiled Sarah's next challenge. What if the confrontation between her two worlds was the catalyst for greater understanding? What if her fears were merely invitations to explore herself more deeply? As she dipped her brush again, a wasp of excitement surged through her. Today was only the beginning, and the outcomes weren't just uncertain, they were limitless. But what would happen when the exhilaration of creative expression met the responsibilities waiting for her at home? With every stroke, she felt unprepared for the decision that loomed ahead. Would embracing her art push her familial bonds to their breaking point? Just as she poured herself into her creation, the nagging question bubbled back: was she ready to fully embrace the duality of her existence without losing one side? The tension was palpable, the moment of truth was nearing as she faced the canvas where her uncharted future awaited. With each brushstroke, Sarah became less of a passive observer in her life and more a participant navigating the tumultuous waters of her dual existence. The vibrant colors splattered onto the canvas mirrored the chaos within her mind, each shade of fear, each stroke a reclaiming of her identity. A kaleidoscope of emotions erupted: joy, guilt, excitement, and uncertainty. Here, in this safe space, her voice, previously muted, cried out for prominence. But as each layer of paint dried, Sarah's thoughts drifted to home, where Lily awaited her. The tender yet powerful responsibility of motherhood loomed on the horizon like an uncharted storm cloud. Could she truly manifest both her desires, becoming a painter and an attentive mother? She grappled with the insistent thought that balancing both would require immense courage and perhaps even the redefinition of her core values. "Hey, Sarah." Chloe's voice drew her back. "You're really going for it? What's your vision?" Sarah hesitated again, assessing her canvas with newfound eyes. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm afraid it won't translate. I want it to mean something, a reflection of what I feel but also what I strive for." Chloe nodded, her expression earnest. "Art is about honesty. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. It's your journey, not anyone else's." Reflecting on Chloe's words, Sarah felt a tugging at her heart. Wasn't her art an expression of how she wrestled with her identity as a mother and an artist? Each uncertainty they discussed reverberated with truth. That recollection, a bridge between her chaotic mind and her vibrant, chaotic canvas, anchored Sarah firmly in the moment. Igniting her fire, she renewed her strokes, plunging into the messiness of creativity. But could this moment of clarity endure beyond the painted canvas? The room throbbed with the infectious energy of creation, yet Sarah's thoughts swam back to her daughter. Guilt brushed against the edges of her excitement. She envisioned Lily, perhaps momentarily lost in her play, but still impactful in the way that children are, filled with need and hope. Wasn't her decision to pursue art both an act of courage and a dismissal of those maternal instincts? With a sharp movement, she paused, brush hovering above the canvas, contemplating her feelings with a raw urgency. Maybe her role as a mother, instead of clashing with her creativity, could harmonize with it. The more she explored her passion, the more she could model for Lily, showing her that dreams, needs, and realities can coexist without conflict. Movement whirled around her, and the laughter of Chloe and others enveloped her once more. Yet, Sarah remained lost in thought as she applied a cascade of orange to blend with the blue, representing the melding of worlds. Each stroke filled her with determination. But as the pieces began to form on the canvas, there lurked yet another creeping dread. What if this newfound strength crumbled at home? What if Lily came to see her mother's art as a threat rather than a gift? Would this journey fracture their bond? Her grip on the brush tightened, creating a smear of paint that looked both chaotic and beautiful. The tension grew thicker, an urgency mounting. She feared not merely her artistic inadequacy but the impending challenge of prioritizing both parts of her life. As Chloe stepped back, examining the splashes of color on the canvas, Sarah realized she would need to confront the very real challenge ahead. "I think I might have to talk to Lily about this, show her what I'm doing, why it matters," she murmured, half contemplating and half resolving. "Yes," Chloe replied, bright-eyed. "Invite her in. Let her see. You might discover how to bring your worlds together." That spark of hope gingerly took root, yet an echo of doubt whispered through Sarah's mind. Could she truly share this part of herself? Just as she began to formulate a plan, a sudden sound resonated around her, the clanging of brushes against pots, and she felt the stir of anxiety rise again. Time was elapsing, and soon the bliss of creation would meld with the realities waiting to unfold at home. Underlining her next steps, the juxtaposition of her worlds wove a complex tapestry in her mind. Her responsibilities were not constraints but rather the framework for her rise. What if this journey was not merely about her creative pursuits but an opportunity to redefine her family dynamics? The question now loomed larger than her canvases. How would she navigate the delicate balance between her new artistic identity and being a present mother? With her brush poised mid-air, a new sense of purpose entwined with the uncertainty each decision would shape her tomorrow's path. Would the decisions she made today strengthen her family bonds or shatter them? As the evening light began to filter through the studio's windows, Sarah stood before her vibrant canvas, every stroke a call for understanding. Her journey was just beginning, and it teetered on the precipice of revelation. The resonance of her art echoed in her heart. Was she truly ready to embrace the sheer breadth of her dual existence? The soft evening light worked its way through the studio window, casting a warm glow on Sarah's canvas, yet a chill danced at the edges of her resolve. Each brushstroke was an intricate puzzle, pieces of her identity scattered, waiting for the precise moment of connection. She could hear the laughter of fellow artists, but the vibrant colors on her palette were quickly overshadowed by a mounting trepidation. The thought of facing Lily loomed heavy, almost paralyzing. Could she dare to expose not just the artist within, but the mother struggling for balance? The desire to share her world with Lily battled fiercely against an unfounded fear that it might be seen as a distraction. In that studio, she had felt the longing to carve out her own space to manifest herself as both a dedicated mother and a passionate artist. But would revealing that truth fracture the simple, beautiful dynamic they shared? Determination stirred inside her like the colors of her canvas bleeding together, and she knew it was time to act. "Remember," she murmured to herself, paintbrush gripped tightly, "Lily deserves to see who I am beyond just being her mother." It was an empowering thought, bridging the gap between her maternal instincts and her artistic ambitions. As she cleaned her brushes and tidied her space, new ideas stirred in her mind, conversations she could have with Lily, moments they could share that would lend understanding to her dual life. Perhaps they could create together, allowing her daughter to experience the messiness of art firsthand. Would that be a way to cultivate curiosity rather than fear? But as Sarah drove home, the uncertainty crept back, nagging at her like the dull hum of traffic lights. What if Lily didn't understand? What if she concluded that her mother was moving away from her? The question was a harsh reminder of the responsibility she bore as a parent. Surely this was an element of fear that many in her shoes faced, and surely others had found a way to navigate it. Reaching home, her heart pounded as she walked through the door. The familiar chaos enveloped her like a cocoon. Toys scattered, crayon masterpieces clung magnetically to the refrigerator, and the air was thick with the scent of dinner wafting from the kitchen. Lily was in the living room, spinning in circles, her laughter a melody of innocence woven with joy. "Mommy, look! I made a rainbow!" Lily exclaimed, showcasing her colorful drawing with unfiltered pride. As Sarah knelt to appreciate the artwork, the stark contrast of their world struck her anew. Here was Lily, vibrant and free, uninhibited by adult anxieties. In that moment, a realization washed over Sarah. She could share her artistic journey in a way that made sense to Lily, weaving her experiences into those colorful narratives. "Can I show you something I've been working on?" she asked, her voice infusing excitement into the air around them. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Yes, please." Guiding her daughter to her studio, Sarah felt a surge of courage. She arranged the canvases so brightly illuminated by the fading light and handed Lily a brush. "Help me create something special." With each stroke, they moved together in a rhythm, laughter bubbling like champagne around their connection. The brightness of their collaboration shifted something deep within Sarah. Involving Lily in her journey transformed her fear into a shared experience, crafting not just a painting but a narrative of authenticity and creativity that belonged to both of them. In that fleeting moment of brush on canvas, Sarah remembered Chloe's words. "Art need not be perfect, it only needs to be real." And could it be that the realest thing she could offer Lily was not just her results, but her willingness to be vulnerable and genuine? But as they painted, a chilling thought crept in: if they could create together, what would happen when it was time for Sarah to step back and pursue her own projects? Would Lily embrace that independence, or would it fracture their bond, revealing a maternal weakness? Sarah felt the tension coil in her stomach, uncertain whether this newfound connection could withstand the complexities that lay ahead. Caught in the swirl of paint and uncertainty, Sarah now faced a question far deeper than before: could she maintain her evolving identity without losing the intricate threads of their relationship? Each brushstroke had the potential to reveal not just beauty but also the evolving challenges of living as both artist and mother. As night fell and the studio dimmed, Sarah stared at their half-finished masterpiece, a tapestry of colors, love, and far-reaching implications. Here lay her balance, precarious yet shimmering with possibility. And yet, the shadows of skepticism loomed larger. Would she nurture the confidence to drive forward, regardless of the uncertainties, to illustrate her existence with all its flaws and fervor? Her heart raced with anticipation and doubt, each beat guiding her towards a truth she would have to face alone. The real journey was only beginning, and with it, the undeniable clash of passion and responsibility. Would she stand firm when the inevitable obstacles emerged, or would this collaboration risk unraveling her ambitions? In that quiet moment before she turned off the studio lights, Sarah felt the gravity of her choices. The tension gripped her, and as she stepped away, a new challenge loomed on the horizon, a confrontation that would test her resolve even further. How far was she willing to go to embrace her dual identity, and more crucially, how would she navigate the storm ahead? The early morning light washed over Sarah's studio, revealing the vibrant explosion of colors that still felt electric from the night before. Surrounded by the remnants of her and Lily's creativity, she felt a nervous flutter in her stomach. Painting with her daughter had ignited a possibility she hadn't fully embraced, a partnership that could deepen their connection while allowing her to grow as an artist. Yet, beneath the thrill lurked a fear that refused to fade. The idea of taking on her artistic path while nurturing Lily loomed like an enormous canvas, blank yet daunting. What if this partnership didn't withstand the test of time? What if she inadvertently stifled Lily's space to bloom? As she poured coffee into her favorite mug, each drip echoed her concerns. The warmth of the brew contrasted with the chill of doubt coiling inside her. Yet she knew she had to confront those fears head-on if she were to chart a course that would honor both her identity and her role as a mother. Today is the day, she whispered to herself, bolstering her determination. It started with a plan to invite Lily deeper into her world without losing sight of her own aspirations. It wasn't just about teaching her daughter about colors and canvases, it was about teaching her that the pursuit of one's passion could coexist beautifully alongside love and responsibility. Late morning found Sarah in a bustling cafe, sketchbook in hand, her nerves subsiding slightly as her pen danced across the page. Ideas flowed. How could she structure a joint project, something that would involve art but also embrace the narratives that made them who they were? She envisioned a series of paintings, each representing different stages of their lives together, revealing connections and reflections of their relationship. But as she sketched, the weight of her ambition settled back onto her shoulders. The whispers of inadequacy began to gnaw again. Was she really capable of making this work? Could she genuinely give her daughter the right space to flourish, or would her drive to succeed overshadow the love they were building? Every line etched into the paper threatened to expose her insecurities. Leaving the cafe, Sarah felt inspired yet slightly unmoored. The golden glow of the afternoon sun hit her like a spotlight, and contradictions churned within her. She craved acceptance for her artistic ambitions, a validation of her choices, and yet the thought of alienating Lily haunted her. Where was the line drawn between fostering independence and remaining a strong presence in her life? Upon arriving home, she found Lily sprawled on the living room rug, deeply engaged in a vibrant array of colored construction paper. The sight filled her heart with love. The way Lily poured herself into her art mirrored how Sarah felt in her studio. But the real test would come when it was time to let Lily into her world completely. "Hey, pumpkin. Want to help me with a special project?" Sarah perched beside her daughter, careful to gauge Lily's reaction. "Can I use the glitter?" Lily's eyes sparkled, innocence winning the day for now. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, warming at the thought of this shared process. Yet, the underlying anxiety bubbled beneath. What if Lily's excitement quickly turned to confusion once they delved into deeper discussions of artistic expression and the realities of balance? As the two began to convene on the floor, selecting colors and pondering the themes for their collaborative artwork, it became increasingly clear, Sarah loved this shared experience, even through the uncertainty entailed. But just as they began layering colors onto paper, a sudden silence cloaked them. The buzzing phone on the side table interrupted their flow. An unanticipated text message from Chloe shook Sarah, thrusting her back into a realm of adult realities. Resolve the presentation by Friday. We're counting on you, Sarah. The word sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. A presentation that could launch her professional career awaited her, a critical pathway for her artistic ambitions. Anxiety seeped in like a crack in a dam, squeezing her chest. How could she manage both this responsibility and the burgeoning project with Lily? Lily glanced up, sensing the shift in her mother's demeanor. "Mommy, are you okay?" "Just a lot on my mind," Sarah replied, forcing a smile. But inside, her thoughts spiraled. She didn't want to disappoint either her professional aspirations or her daughter's excitement. Now at a crossroads, Sarah's resolve was tested like never before. Could she effectively compartmentalize her ambitions and her role as a nurturing mom, or would one take precedence over the other, leading to a fracture in their relationship? The intertwining of art, familial connection, and the professional fire she felt within intensified dramatically, leaving her breathless at the thought of what lay ahead. In the space where creativity met obligation, Sarah's heart raced with questions that threatened to unravel her journey. Would she find the strength to navigate her two worlds without jeopardizing their bond? The challenge loomed larger, and with it, the chance to discover not just her artistry, but the essence of herself as a mother. As they plunged into their colorful endeavor, Sarah couldn't shake the foreboding sense that the true test was yet to come. Was she ready to blend the areas of her life and create something profoundly beautiful, while risking fracture in the foundations she held most dear? As the days unfolded like the colors of her vibrant canvas, Sarah plunged deeper into her dual existence. Each brushstroke with Lily was a testament to the joy of creation. However, the looming deadline of her presentation flickered persistently in her mind like a warning light. The juxtaposition of her responsibilities shredded her composure. One moment a devoted mother, the next a driven artist on the precipice of opportunity. On the eve of the presentation, Sarah stood at her easel, her canvas a chaotic whirlwind of colors mirroring the turmoil in her thoughts. Each shade embodied the push and pull of her life, artistic aspirations that soared against the backdrop of her responsibilities as a parent. But there was a newfound clarity. She owed it to herself and to the budding artist in Lily not to allow expectations to dilute their creative bond. While Lily napped peacefully, Sarah summoned the courage to reflect on her journey. She had journeyed from self-doubt to a heartfelt collaboration with her daughter, from chaos to clarity, discovering that artistry could not only thrive alongside motherhood but also illuminate the path forward. If she could externalize her struggles, perhaps she could harness the same power in her upcoming presentation. With practiced resolve, she opened her laptop, crafting a proposal infused with authenticity. Each word breathed life into her passion, an invitation to explore how the duality of her life didn't detract from success but rather enhanced it. She wrote fervently about the strength in vulnerability, weaving her artistic inspirations with stories of motherhood. It was an act of reclamation, a defining moment for both her professional and personal self. Morning arrived with a soft light filtering into her workspace, illuminating the completed painting Lily had helped create. In that moment, she envisioned revealing this journey to the boardroom, a vibrant and tender representation of the balance she sought. It became clear, the canvas was more than just colors, it was a narrative waiting to unfold. As she prepared for the presentation, a surge of purpose propelled Sarah through the door toward her ambitious destiny, a step into the unknown invigorated by clarity and courage. Every breath felt charged with the essence of her blended realities. As she walked the halls of her company, she realized her path was no longer weighed down by guilt, but rather emboldened by resilience. At the meeting, as she stood before her colleagues, Sarah found her voice transformed. She spoke with equal parts passion and vulnerability, presenting not just her proposal, but the story of duality, how motherhood and artistry were symbiotic, capable of crafting the foundation for profound change. Laughter and connection punctuated her words, and she felt the room respond, the weight of her fears dissipating beneath a veil of acceptance. After the presentation, the responses were overwhelmingly positive. Colleagues approached her, congratulations flowing alongside admiration for her raw honesty. "You have a unique perspective, Sarah," one senior executive remarked. Your ability to intertwine art with your life experiences brings a depth that is truly compelling. Her heart swelled with pride. The professional recognition validated her journey while echoing the lessons she intended to pass on to Lily, a legacy grounded in authenticity. Afterward, Sarah rushed home to share her success with her daughter. As Lily greeted her with joyous giggles, Sarah swept her into an embrace, feeling the undeniable pulse of their bond. Guess what? Mommy had a big presentation today, and it went really well, she exclaimed, their surroundings sparkling with color. Did you use glitter? Lily asked, her enthusiasm bubbling over, unaware that the real glitter had already begun to shine upon their lives. Yes. And I want to show you my favorite part, Sarah replied, guiding her daughter to the easel. We created something beautiful together, a reminder that art is all about expressing who we are. As they surveyed their masterpiece, Sarah felt the fusion of ambition, love, and creativity rising within her, a testament of transformation that could indeed encapsulate both her roles. The juxtaposition of her past self, the unsure waitress lost in chaos, against the confident woman standing before her daughter, reinforced her resolve. She realized that achieving this balance was not merely about fulfilling responsibilities, but about allowing her passions to intermingle delicately with her life. Art and motherhood were no longer categories she navigated reluctantly, they coalesced as one, offering a narrative of joy, fulfillment, and authenticity. The years ahead would inevitably challenge her, introducing obstacles that might test her resolve once more. Yet, at that moment, Sarah grasped the essence of who she had become, a woman bold enough to redefine her life, daring to embrace both her artistry and her motherhood. With each passing day, she would continue to cultivate this balance, showing Lily that following one's dreams and nurturing those we love does not require a choice, but rather a merging of paths toward a wondrous future. And as laughter filled the room, and they began painting together once more, Sarah knew she had not only conquered her fears but had woven a legacy that would inspire the artist within Lily for many years to come. Now, it's your moment. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that challenge the boundaries of life transformations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because your support makes all the difference. Comment below with your reactions and theories about this incredible journey of personal growth. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, reminding them that the true adventure lies in embracing their unique narratives. Don't wait even one more second to share.